Oh yeah, let's do it.
Welcome back to the channel, and to give you a break from Nate and his grow lights, I'm here to talk about microgreens. And just like these tiny plants, I've packed a lot of good stuff in a small package in this short video. By the end, you'll know everything you need to know about growing and using microgreens. Specifically, I'll go over the different kinds you can grow and where to start. I'll show a comparison of the two main growing techniques. I'll give you step-by-step instructions and some tips about how to use microgreens in your meals. For starters, microgreens are super satisfying to grow. They're fast, nutritious, flavorful, and there are hundreds of varieties to choose from. Pretty much any vegetable, grain, legume, salad green can also be grown as a microgreen. There's lots you can consider when picking one out. Things like looks, price, how long they take are worth considering, but we find it most useful to think about how you'll use them. So here they are, broken down by flavor. The first ones are mild. These can be nutty, sweet, or taste like different vegetables. These are some of the easiest to work into meals or smoothies because they don't overtake the dish. My favorites here are alfalfa and clover, those kind of an earthy, grassy. There's greens like broccoli, chard, and kale. And then there's salad mixes, which are all pretty flavor neutral and kind of can slip in almost undetected into a sandwich or salad. Next up are the spicier ones. These go better in heartier dishes and definitely stand up to bolder flavors. You can almost use them like a spice or a dressing. The most popular ones here are arugula, which has a classic peppery flavor, spicy mustard, which kind of just tastes like a fresh condiment, radish, my personal favorite, which is sort of a little bit richer than the root crop. You can also grow herbs as microgreens. Compared to adult herbs, they're much more tender, so they work better as garnishes in desserts and cocktails. Again, lots of options here, but the best ones are cilantro, dill, fennel, scallion. Finally, we've got shoots. These are great for snacking on straight or adding a little bit of crunch to your meals. Some of the most popular shoots are corn, lentil, peas, soy, and sunflower shoots. When starting out, I recommend going with a variety of lots of different flavors and textures and sizes in sort of small, compact grows. This will help you get your footing, and from there you can either explore more flavors or scale up. So now that you've picked out your microgreens, you'll need to decide on a growing technique. The big difference is if you want to grow in soil or with a grow mat. Planting the seeds in soil, compost, or coco coir is one of the most commonly recommended ways to grow microgreens. If you have lots of soil on hand, you can use pretty much any container to grow it this way, so it's a nice low investment way to get started. Here I am setting up some radish microgreens in dirt. One thing to note is the dirt is, well, dirty. There's a lot of hand washing and cleaning during setup. The other option is to use grow mats. These can be made out of paper, coco coir, jute, or fabric. When we tested them, they clearly weren't all made equal. Some totally disintegrated after a couple days, some stunk up the water and became pretty gross, and some worked really well. Our favorite ended up being jute, which is what I'm setting up here. Also, when you're growing with a grow mat, it's good to use a lid because the seeds are exposed to the air and they need that high humidity to sprout. Here's both of them set up. Let's see how the growing goes. As you can see, it takes a little bit longer for the soil-based seeds to get started, and they never really catch up. Also, I needed to water the soil much more frequently, so this, combined with how dirty the dirt is, makes it pretty clear to me that I personally want to use grow mats. Okay, so now I'm going to use the system that has grow mats that wicks from a reservoir, so it's totally self-watering. I'll be growing these varieties in here, one from each flavor group. Lentils for shoots, radish for spicy, and kale for mild. The first thing we want to do is find a grow area. Microgreens don't really need much light at all, so it's pretty easy to find a space, and any windowsill tends to do fine. I'm going to use a window shelf to put mine on. To prep the grow beds, first I'm going to fill up my reservoir, leaving just a little air gap at the top. Next, I'll wet the grow mats and put them in the trays, folding down the surface. Finally, I'll measure out some seeds following the seeding rate on the back of the packet. Generally, a teaspoon for the smaller seeds and a tablespoon for the big ones. The smaller seeds I can just sprinkle right on, making sure they're evenly spread, put my lids on, and sit back. The lentils are representative of the shoots. And as you can see, shoot seeds are much bigger. This means they'll usually grow faster if I soak them for a couple hours before planting. So I'm just going to set these up using the tray as a water dish. Then I'll put them on top of the grow mat and put the lid on top. Okay, here we are at day 3. If you look in there, you can start to see some activity, and since they've sprouted, it's time to take the lid off and give them some air. You might be alarmed when you see fuzzy hair kind of coming from your sprouts grow mats. These white rootlets are often mistaken for mold, but don't worry at all. They're totally normal and healthy, and they're part of the plant. So that's it. The plants are soaking up water and growing. Once the microgreens form little leaves and are about a ½ inch tall, you can start to sample them. Their flavor and texture will change over time, so every day after they sprout, it's fun to take a little bit of pinch and see where their flavor peaks for you. It's best to harvest microgreens as needed, meaning immediately before you eat them. This is the best way to ensure optimal flavor and nutrition. After taking a partial harvest, return your tray to the windowsill and let it keep growing until you need it next. If you're going to wait a while, it's worth adding a little bit of water so they don't dry out. Also, it's not at all essential, but you might notice that your microgreens are a little bit crisper and a little bit sweeter in the morning. This is because they spend the night replenishing their lost moisture and converting the previous day's starch into sugar. And with the shoots, you can actually get a few harvests out of them if you cut them in a way that they grow back. The trick here is to cut above the lowest set of leaves. I find that I can get 3 good harvests out of it before the plant starts to get stringy and flavorless. Microgreens are great because they have concentrated vitamins and minerals, so a little pinch can go a long way. It's not such a common ingredient, you need to be a little bit creative, and we're actually having a shoot party over here, so I want to show you how some people on our team are using it.
We have a microgreen and mushroom pie coming up.
Bruschettas that kind of don't take very long to make. They're going to be 2 spicy ones that's going to have radish and mustard, and 1 more mild one for your timid friends that will have kale microgreens on it.
Vegan spring rolls. I'm going to do a more traditional one with herbs. We've got some mint here, Thai basil, and I've got some cilantro in the fridge. I'm also going to mix it up and do a slightly different one with a bunch of different microgreens as well.
So that's it. As promised, you're now a microgreen master. If you have any questions at all, this is all we do, so I'll be reading the comments and answering them there. You can also head over to our website for a blog series that covers microgreens in a little bit more depth than I did here, and the link for that is also below.